We are now going to launch the share offer, and Philip's going to introduce it. Philip, can I ask you to come on up and to introduce the offer to everybody here? It's been tremendous hard work to get here, as you can imagine. It's been a lot of work. Philip may say something about this. Philip, I think you need to use this one, I'm afraid. Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I should thank the trustees of WeSet for giving us the opportunity on what is really their day to make this what we think is a very important and interesting announcement to you. So thanks to WeSet and the directors of Westmill Wind Farm as well. I'm a relative newcomer to Westmill Solar. I think when the founder directors invited me to join the board, it was probably because I'm one of the sort of old timers of the British solar industry. When I first got involved, when I first started in this sector back in the mid-70s, the standard size solar panel was about half the size of that. It produced about 1.5 watts. That's small enough for a small pocket torch, and it cost £100. As you can see, the panels have got a bit bigger now, but if you today made this solar panel, it would have about twice the output, but the equivalent cost would be £1. If car prices had done the same, you'd now be able to buy a Land Rover for about 50 quid. And the reason why solar power in particular has got so much cheaper than it used to be, and will carry on doing so, is because unlike, for example, the wind turbines, you've got a huge amount of metal in that, you've got big heavy gearboxes, you've got a lot of mechanical equipment. Over at sort of Didcot Power Station, you've got massive, great high temperature turbines and rotating generators. Here, the only moving parts in our generating station here are electrons. And that's why these can get so much cheaper, because it is basically just electronic technology. And as we all know from the computer industry, as you make those in greater volumes, the prices come down, and that is what's happening and will continue to happen. And my prediction is that in your lifetimes, hopefully also in mine, solar power will actually be the largest contributor to the world's energy supply. And I don't just mean larger than the other renewables, than wind and hydro. I mean it will overtake coal, oil, gas and nuclear power to be the largest contributor within the next few decades of this century. And that's why today is such a great day, because we actually all have the opportunity to play to get our little piece of the energy picture for tomorrow. And that's what today's offer is all about. And I'm absolutely delighted to launch Westmill Solar Cooperative's public share offer today. That's what it's all about. There is a document around. I'm afraid there's very few copies of this document today. There's just a handful of copies. And the reason for that, I'm delighted to say, is largely for your protection. We do have to go through very, very extensive regulatory sign-off on this under the auspices of the Financial Services Authority, and we eventually got our sign-off at 7 p.m. last night. That's how difficult it was. And I have to say, on the receiving end of this, we did feel, as we were basically trying to get a share offer out for people to invest a few £1,000s, that we got rather more regulatory attention than the banks did when they blew several hundred billion of other people's money. But here we are, the document is out, and don't worry, if you can't get your copy today, it will be available on the website as of Monday, and it'll even be possible to apply for shares online on the website from Monday. So there are a few copies around, there are some extracts around today, but if you can't get hold of one, don't worry, they'll be available that way. And I'm not going to go into great detail about the share offer. We are basically open to investments anything from £250 to £20,000 under the terms of this offer, and we're seeking to raise a total of about 4 million that way. And that 4 million, together with debt finance that we're arranging through from the city, will enable us to buy this solar park. At the moment, the solar park is still owned by the company that developed it, but we have an option to buy it back from them, and that is what we're raising the money to do. And this solar park earns money not just by producing electricity and selling that into the grid, although that's quite a valuable source of income, of course, but also it is receiving income under a government scheme called the feed-in tariffs, whereby it receives, under the current rate, 32 pence for every kilowatt hour it produces, just for generating the power, in addition to what it gets for selling that power back to the grid. And we were lucky that the solar park was built before 1st of August when the tariffs went down, and that's why it still gets the higher rate of tariff, and that tariff level is guaranteed for the next 24 years, and it's also index linked. And if you put all those things together, this as an investment opportunity is a long term, it's a government backed, and it's an index linked opportunity. And we think you'll find it offers pretty attractive returns in today's uncertain climate. But I'm hoping that quite a lot of you are looking beyond just the financial returns and at the contribution that this can make in other ways. And this solar park here has a capacity of about 5 megawatts, that's 5 million watts. And over the course of a year, it avoids carbon emissions of the same power being generated through traditional means, carbon emissions of 2,000 tonnes per annum. So it is making a significant contribution to the fight against climate change. It is of course local generation, and that offers opportunities and helps the country become less reliant on energy imports. And the annual output of this solar park, something over 4.5 million kilowatt hours a year, is enough to power about 1,400 average homes in the UK, and that, I believe, Mike, is probably about half the homes in Farringdon. So this is a serious contribution to the country's clean generation. There are around the country now just 22 solar farms on this sort of scale, and since the tariffs have been reduced, no more were built since then, although it is likely that new ones will be cropping up in the future as costs continue to fall. And this is the only one that is available for community ownership, and we have to thank Adam Twine for that. It's really Adam's unique vision on this, that he turned away any number of banks and investment funds who would happily have bought this the way they bought the other 21. But it was Adam's vision to go for a more collaborative and a more sustainable model. And Adam is really one of the pioneers of what's becoming known as the circular economy, and we have a lot to thank him for. We also, of course, have to thank the politicians, those who enacted the feed-in tariff scheme in Parliament. And we have to look ahead at the sort of leadership that will need to come from politicians if we are going to change the paradigm and move to the sort of sustainable economy that we need for the future. And therefore I'm going to invite Ed to join me. We're delighted to have a government minister and our local MP here on this occasion, and I thank you for coming, Ed. And I think it's only right that I should give you the very first opportunity to participate in what we believe will be the world's largest cooperatively owned solar farm. Over to you, Ed.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if that was working.
It's a great privilege to be here. This one's now been turned on. Where's this one? Well, thank you very much. Isn't this amazing? So I was just discussing with the Chief Executive of Good Energy, my good friend Juliet Davenport, who I've known for 20 years and watched her career rise like a meteor as mine falls like a stone. The opportunities to invest in Adam's solar farm, as I think it should be known. And I'm sure I will be one of the first investors to secure my children's future in every sense, both financial and environmental. It's a really great triumph, this extraordinary solar farm that we're standing next to. Adam, as you know, battled through planning regulations to get his wind farm built. Many people opposed it, but it has now been built, and he's raised the £4 million to build that through a community share offer, and it now has 2,500 investors. So while it might seem like a tall order to secure £4 million worth of investment in this solar farm, given that Adam has done it with his wind farm, I'm absolutely confident he'll also achieve his target of raising the money that he needs to turn this into a community-owned solar farm. And as Philip said, it is, by all accounts, unless anyone can tell me different, the largest community-owned solar farm, not just in the UK, but in the world. And I think what we have on this small piece of Oxfordshire is a physical manifestation of some of the technologies that could potentially change the planet and help to combat climate change. And I think what is amazing about this is this piece of industrial machinery is rather beautiful, sitting as it is in this extraordinary wildflower meadow. So everything about this place is about the environment, wind turbines, solar power, but also the kind of meadow in which wildlife will thrive. So it's a real privilege and an honour to be asked to come and open Adam's wind farm. Every 5 years or so he stands against me and tries to prevent me being an MP. Quite rightly, as some of you might say. But what is lovely about Adam is that in between general election warfare, peace, tranquility and love breaks out, and we're able to work together. And also what is lovely about Adam is that he's prepared to give me a platform when someone like him and Philip and Juliet Davenport have done all the extraordinary hard work to make this thing a reality. So I am truly honoured and privileged to be here. Thank you very much for allowing me to take part in what I think is a unique and very special event in this part of Oxfordshire, but also in terms of the development of renewable energy in the UK. Thank you very much. Now, yes, but we have to, do we press a button or do we just sort of signal?
I think you announced it all. I think you could do it by mind transfer.
We are going to, Philip and I together are going to think very hard, and we are now going to officially launch the share offer for this amazing solar.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Ed. Well, it transpires Juliet already needs no further introduction. The founder and still chief executive of Good Energy, the meteoric Juliet Davenport.
Thank you very much, Philip, and thank you very much, Eddie. I'm very pleased to be standing here today because actually, you might say, what has Good Energy got to do with this site? Adam's done a lot of the hard work about getting it here. There's been other people here I've seen today who built the actual site. But we're very lucky to be actually buying the power from the site. And for me, that's really what this is all about. Building the technology is about generating the power that people, everyday people, want to buy and use in their homes. I set Good Energy up about 12 years ago. It doesn't feel very meteoric, Ed, I have to say. It seems like quite a long time. And at that point, there were 6 dominant players in this market. I have to say, today, that's still pretty much the case. But over the last 2 years, what we've seen is with the solar parks like we have today, and the opportunity for individuals to invest in it, we've seen 350,000 homes now become their own generators, installing solar panels on their own roofs. And suddenly there's this little chink, there's this little idea that perhaps we don't need to generate power in the same way that we've always done from large central power stations and deliver it across the country to lots of individual households. Actually, what we could do is generate power much more locally as we are here today from both solar and wind. Good Energy is very lucky to buy the wind power of 3 of the turbines here as well. And what's really interesting as you bring these different technologies in is that something like solar, this is powering probably about 2,500 homes today because it's the summer and people slightly use less, and actually it's outputting, despite the rain that people might say we have dreadful weather in this country, we actually do better than Germany, which a lot of people wouldn't say after maybe the European Cup final later on this week. But And apologies, it's about to rain now, so I won't keep you too long. But essentially, we see this as a transformation, and those people who couldn't put solar panels on their homes can invest in this solar park here today and be part of that and get the returns, as I understand, that are looking better than probably most banks in the share offer. So I'm going to cut myself short in the rain, but thank you very much for listening. And if anybody's interested in buying the power from this site, then the guys in the yellow, who look a bit like a sun, please go and talk to them.